This was going to be the final piece, but it's slightly changed. And the issue of the waste of our funds runs into this next piece when expanded thinking applies. And the issue of migrants in particular came up again recently, which according to many countries globally is now becoming a big problem. But it's a problem. But is it a problem when you think in a different way? I've heard people this week in the UK saying the migrants are taking our jobs, houses and benefits and running the country's finances down. And that can be a valid argument. Let's ignore at this point that it is a deliberate think tank programme. It is and has been evidenced that way. But let's ponder on it from another angle. People from poor countries flooding into richer countries for a better life and opportunity, you can't blame them for doing that. But the cry is, we are paying for it. The reality is, we are not. The people never gained any benefits from the government's funding before mass migration. If they threw all the immigrants out tomorrow, do you think the government would use that so-called money saved to benefit the people? Or just giving the military more money? I think you know the answer. So the cry, we are paying for it, is a smokescreen. And yes, there is criminal elements within them. I'm not negating that. I'm talking about it in general. The criminal elements within the illegal or not immigrants are largely paid actors. That's been evidenced even by Mr. Trump himself, the MS-13 crew, the FARC guerrillas. But if we the people are paying for it, my thinking is, why shouldn't we do that? The People's Club itself is about acquiring funds and people helping each other. But ponder on this. Should we only help people in THI? Think about that for a second. Should we only help THI people? From a wider perspective, how will the people outside of THI view that? Would they not get angry? Probably. Envy? Absolutely. Questions will be thrown up. Why are they entitled to all the funds and we are not? Would there not be a flood of applications to join our group? Do we turn around and say, we are not letting them in? Is that being charitable? Is that being caring? Is that being sharing? And everything we stand for? Clearly not. Then why the difference with migrants? Think long and hard on this piece. Real long and hard. Allowing people who are oppressed, poor, and lacking basics of life is not something we should be blocking, but something we should be encouraging. That is what caring and sharing is all about. There's no ifs and no buts about it. If you're wondering why the funds are low in your particular country, go and target who the real problem is, not the victims of their programs. Let's use America as an example. It raided Mexico, Colombia, Honduras, Guatemala, Haiti, Puerto Rico, Panama, El Salvador and Venezuela, all for drug and oil money. Did they give the proceeds of that back to America or Americans? Did they shite? So now those people and their economies are now bankrupt. And so they have to uproot from their homes and migrate to where there is a prospect of them sustaining their lives and their families. Where do they go? The nearest country with funds to accommodate them. The same country who created their poor conditions to begin with. And the very people within that country who now cry foul and say, we don't want migrants in this country. Said what when the US military was blitzing and raping their countries? Largely said nothing. And the same applies to the UK also. Crying about Syrians and Iraqis and Muslims coming in. You said jack when they were bombing in the Gulf War. In fact, most people were cheering it on the news. I was there, I watched it. Oblivious to the people who were on the other end of it. Or why they were being bombed. Saying nothing makes us all complicit in it. And I'm sorry people don't want to hear that. But it is the truth, and the brutal truth of that. So now, we the people have an obligation to support these people now, in my opinion. You ignore a problem long enough, and it reaches your back door. It always does. You can't hide behind your own bubble world forever. Eventually, it gets popped. So the vast majority of these migrants are coming to have a life of some sort. Allowing them in and supporting them is an act of charity, which we all have to learn to exhibit. It cannot and should not be selective. That is divide and conquer at its finest. So if you're complaining they're using up our resources, look again at who really caused the issue, not the victims of it. America's military and foreign policies dictated within and outside of this country is what created it. And it's up to we the people to fix it. Why don't we have enough money to feed, clothe and house these people? Because we sit by and watch our tax dollars get wasted on a vast number of things and say little or nothing. The elephant in the room is 989 billion a year, which is 2/3 of our government discretionary spending, I might add. And ask, do we want or need our money spent in that way? Or would we like to spend some of that or all of that $989 billion a year on people's lives, migrants included? Welcoming law and abiding migrants into your country is a real act of charity on our behalf. And with regards to the Western countries' peoples, it is the least we should do to save them people, because it's largely our own lack of human caring that created it. Again, I'm not apologising for saying that, it's the truth. It was all so much fun, shock and awe, bombs raining down. On innocent people. People have proposed for funding to help the homeless in America, and that's fine by me. We don't need to have homeless people. We have homeless people because not enough people care. Again. But why only American homeless? Why such narrow thinking? Expand it. Homeless is homeless no matter what country you come from. Think different. Change the timeline. Some people will say I'm being harsh and a bit unfair blaming certain people. Fine. Suck it up. Your lifestyle doesn't change regardless of whether you accept this piece or not. But I tell you what is really harsh. Sitting in your home minding your own business and then planes rain down bombs on people, obliterating their homes, businesses and families, then having to uproot and travel thousands of miles to live in another country with unfamiliar surroundings and culture just to survive, only for some people to turn them away or denigrate them. That is really fucking harsh on every level. Least of all, a human level. Ponder long and hard on that. I appreciate this will cause some to react. You should react to it. But if it's a projection at me, then you've missed, or yet again, ignoring the point. You didn't care enough about the peoples of Central America, Iraqis, Palestinians, Vietnamese, only your own country. And I'm not just picking on Americans here. It applies in the UK, it applies in Germany, France, and all the other countries, Canada, etc. You ignored their plight. Only bothered about your own country and its well-being, your own colour and its well-being, your own religion, your own families and friends and their well-being. That is me thinking. And the time for doing that has to stop now. We're all involved in this together. We all have a common enemy, the dark forces. We've all been seduced by the dark forces for long enough. Turned into narrow thinking and more narrower groups, labels or identities. Stand up for your fellow man, woman and child. Because if you keep ignoring what is happening to other groups, there'll be no groups left to save you when it becomes your turn to face the enemy. I'll repeat my mantra again. How can you be an immigrant on your own planet? Think and act different is not just another THI mantra. It's our lifesaver. And the key to ending this madness. I was going to end the show with the song People Are People. And the words, people are people, so why should it be you and I should get along so awfully? The key is we don't have to. We just don't. Think and act different. It's the lifesaver for all of us. But then this next piece will end the show, and a change of music was required. Word on the street. We cover all the streets. There was a high-level meeting by the Rothchilds family over the weekend, discussing several things we heard. And the outcome of that, which is yet to be confirmed, I want to make that clear. is that the Rothchilds family is backing out and stepping down altogether. Oops. If confirmed, and it looks more likely, it will have a major effect and a shift globally. Several implications that can be a benefit to humanity, and the RV will get kicked into touch once and for all. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean their minions will step down also, but like George Herbert Walker Bush, the minions don't carry the same aura. The question remains, what will the sheep followers do or be able to do without their gods? Oh my. Well, you all have a choice and a new platform available to join a real movement of We the People, backed and supported by the Manor World Holding Trust. Choose wisely now. To repeat again, if it's fully confirmed, the Rothschilds family are backing out and will be stepping down. Message to the minions who follow the Rothschilds, the bankers, the central bankers, the military, NATO, the Swiss guards, the mercenaries, the agencies and governments. Our message will be in the final song tonight. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.